How many of us feel battered?
So the whole world is continuing to lose its mind over Omid Scobie. Aren't you? Everybody's losing their minds because in the Dutch translation of Omid Scobie's book Endgame, the names of the royal racists are revealed. And it turns out that, according to Omid Scobie, or according to his sources, you know, all of his anonymous sources he's got, the royal racists are none other than King Charles and Kate, Princess Catherine, Kate Middleton.
You daft racist.
Alright, so in today's video we are going to take a look at a few of the things that Omid Scobie says in his book about Charles and Camilla and about William and Kate and all the racism everywhere, and we're going to have a good laugh. Not at the racism, with the racism.
No to racism.
But I would just like to say before we get into that, there are a couple of things that really catch my eye about this whole controversy. And I don't know if other people are saying similar things or not from what I've heard. Firstly, everyone's all hung up on whether Omid Scobie's the guy who gave the order to leak the names in the Dutch translation. This was some kind of tactic to sell more books. Maybe. I don't know. Probably. I don't think it really matters. Would it make him any less of a sneaky little serpentine, slithery thing if he wasn't actually the guy that gave the order to leak the names? Or even if it was just an accident, a very odd one, by the way. How do you leak the names? How do you do that accidentally? Anyway, who cares? Anyone who's taken the time to read Endgame, or used one of their Audible credits like me, to listen to that 14-hour rant, anyone who's taken their time to listen to any of it will know that the entire book is just a tirade of horseshit being lobbed at Charles and Camilla and William and Kate, with nothing really tangible there. He's just talking about colonialism and imperialism and George Floyd. If anything, the whole book sounds like an Omid Scobie mating call about how amazing he is and how many exclusive events he's been invited to and private phone calls he's been part of. Well, I sure hope it's worth it, Omid. And just one more thing I have to get off my chest. Another thing that caught my eye. I promise we're going to get into the comedy gold of Endgame right now. You're going to love it. But I do have to reiterate one thing. I'm not the first person to say this, but the royal racists that are being exposed, what are they accused of? Cast your minds back to the Oprah interview that Harry and Meghan gave, that weepy episode when they fled the royal family and they were speaking of the horror that they'd gone through. What did they accuse the royal racist of? It was raising concerns about the skin colour of their unborn child. Now, I think I have a slightly different take to other people on this. I believe that really happened. However, I don't think they were raising concerns. They were probably just, you know, sort of excited about the baby being born and saying to them, oh, well, you know, Harry, a big, dopey, pale-skinned ginger fellow, and you, Meghan, you're kind of Mediterranean looking or something. Same thing happened to me with my wife. You know, me being northern European, English looking, blue eyes and whatever, and my wife is Spanish. So everyone was, well, before our kids were born, oh, what will they look like? And of course, it was like a cross between Thor and Athena, a Norse god and a Greek goddess. That's what my kids look like. They're not my kids, by the way. Anyway, the point is, that isn't racism. And I know what you're all thinking, a 30-something-year-old straight white male here to explain to us what is and isn't racism. And to that, all I can say is, don't worry about it. You're welcome. But I do think that happened, because I don't know if you've had any experiences, like I have, with dickheads. They tend to prefer half-truths over outright lies, because you can't flat-out deny a half-truth. If you ask the person, well, you did mention that skin colour, didn't you? And you're that person, you go, well, yeah, but I didn't mean it like... They've got you. Anyway, let's get into it.
It's revealing that the one family member who's emerged as the most informed and honest about the firm's racial issues, and his own...
He's referring to Harry, by the way, as the most informed and honest member of the royal family.
...is the one who left the institution altogether. Prince Harry's racial awakening has its own story arc.
Ooh, riveting. I can't wait to hear about the story arc of Harry's racial awakening. Why don't you leave in the comments the story arc of your racial awakening? Actually, no, don't do that.
But it's worth remembering that he is the first royal in history to sincerely acknowledge their white privilege, their ancestral role in racial injustices, and most importantly, their continuing bias and racism, unconscious or not.
Bitch, please. I am way ahead of you. You're preaching to the choir here, Omid. If you want to find anyone more aware of their bias and racism, conscious or not, you're not going to find anyone more, basically, is what I'm saying. And I'm actually, I'm on the next generation. I'm passing this wisdom on to my kids. It's Christmas at the moment, so I'm threatening them with that more than anything. Get to fucking bed or Father Christmas will go berserk. Right? That's what I'm saying at the moment, mostly. But during the rest of the year, who do I tell them is watching them? Not being good. Reverend Al Sharpton, that's right. I know he's not dead, but, they think Father Christmas is watching them, don't they? Anyway, actually, I could put a photo of Omid Scobie in their rooms, couldn't I? That'd scare them right, wouldn't it? I was very wary if my daughter's trying to do anything with her hair, in case it's culturally insensitive. I mean, even my wife, who's just got naturally straight hair, I say, I know it's not your fault, but people might think you've been conking.
It was a journey that started the day he met Meghan, but one that took on significance and meaning after he left the confines of the palace. He also called out his own family for not taking on the racist attacks hurled at their own, even linking this institutionalized reticence to Britain's long history of imperialism. For us, for this union and the specifics around Meghan's race, there was an opportunity, many opportunities, for my family to show some public support.
Gosh, I bet they were kicking themselves. They really missed the boat on that one, eh? They missed that opportunity to protect Meghan when they saw all those nasty headlines about her being a bit of a knob. And, they didn't come out and say, no, she's not a knob. That's racist. Anyway, you're going to love this next bit.
Support did come from less expected areas. In October 2019, a Labour Party political candidate, Holly Lynch, drafted an open letter regarding the racial attacks on Meghan that was later signed by 72 female politicians.
An unexpected source. A female Labour Party candidate wrote an open letter about racism. I thought that was practically a requirement in the Labour Party to write open letters to God knows whom about the state of the world. Yeah, that's what the Labour Party do, isn't it?
With no illusions, it resolutely stated, "Stories and headlines have represented an invasion of your privacy and have sought to cast aspersions about your character without any good reason as far as we can see. We are calling out what can only be described as outdated colonial undertones to some of these stories."
What can only be described as outdated colonial undertones to some of these stories. Labour Party, you've done it again. No one was ever racist again. Outdated colonial undertones. I'd like them to describe what a tone is, because they're always on about these undertones. And what is a colonial tone or a colonial undertone? And what exactly is one that isn't outdated, a current colonial tone? That's what I want to know about. Tell me some of them, and then maybe we can go from there. I always wonder what is in people's heads when they talk about something as abstract as colonial era Britain. What do you mean by that, for a start? The 19th century, I guess. That's what you've seen, your drama series, your fucking period dramas on the BBC about. You've probably seen Oliver Twist or something. That should be enough, in fact, you fucking idiots. Can you not see how fucking miserable life was for everyone? You talk about the king and queen, right? Okay. The current king and queen, they are in their 70s, right? They're in the 70s now. So we're going back a couple of 100 years now. What do you think life was like for British people in colonial era Britain? Because, I mean, you only need to read a couple of novels. Everyone's always on about Dickens, and he made a point of describing, the horrible working conditions of, working class people and stuff like that. And that's great and everything. But I get more fixated on things like Jane Eyre, which I've often mentioned. There's a chapter in Jane Eyre and she comes from a family that's got enough money to be able to get rid of her and send her to a school. They don't like her very much. They send her to a girls' school. There's only about 100 girls in the school. So they don't have shoes. They're freezing to death. And these are the ones that can afford to go to school, because most kids wouldn't have in the 1850s when this was written. And there's a part of the book, a chapter where they have a particularly bad flu season, and half of the girls in the school die. And it's just told as matter of fact. It's not told like, oh, what a tragedy, It's like, well, yeah, half the girls were wiped out this over a period of, a month and a half. And that was the middle class back then. What is in these people's minds that we were all the fucking Sedleys in Vanity Fair? Or the Osbornes. Whatever. One of them. In our estates in Mayfair. Fuck off.
After hearing news of the letter, Harry told a friend, "It's more than my family ever did. The silence disappointed me." The firm has yet to fully learn how to become more initiative-taking when faced with race-related allegations.
Yet to learn how to be more initiative-taking. They've become positively trigger-happy. They threw Lady Hussey under the bus when she dared to ask Ngozi Fulani, who was, by the way, dressed so mentally. She looked like E.T. the extraterrestrial. And the Lady Hussey, 83 years of age, asked her, "Where are you from?" They were like, "Get out, you crazy bitch."
Particularly after Harry and Meghan left Oprah Winfrey speechless over certain family members' concerns and conversations about Archie's skin colour. The issue may have later been briefly discussed between Meghan and Charles over letter, and this is why the incidents were not repeated in the Sussexes' 2022 Netflix series or in Spare. But the palace's initial response was not a swift one. They would instead wait until the interview's UK broadcast aired the following day before planning anything. After morning television hosts mocked Meghan's stories, newspapers called the couple liars, and a nationwide poll found that more than a third of Britons, 36%, had more sympathy with the royal family, compared to just 22% for the Sussexes, the palace issued a carefully worded statement to mirror the public's mixed reaction. The issues raised, particularly that of race, are concerning. Buckingham Palace included in a 61-word riposte issued on behalf of the Queen. While some recollections may vary, they are taken very seriously and will be addressed by the family privately. Those 3 words, recollections may vary, artfully submarined the issue by casting it as a he said she said situation.
Yeah, exactly. They actually did cover for Meghan there, because they think everything she's saying is complete bullshit, and they feel the conversation was not worth any kind of headline or any kind of media attention whatsoever. So they kind of came out and said, well, recollections may vary, instead of just throwing her under the bus, which they absolutely could have. Anyway, this video's getting a little bit long now, and I don't like to get all angried up before bedtime. All right, I'm not angry. This was fun. There's plenty more to get into, as I'll show you in subsequent videos. Thanks for watching. Give the video a like. I'll see you in the next one.
You daft racist.